Here's the walkthrough for Edexcel Foundation. It's paper 2, so calcs at the ready, from June 2022. Usual first page of don't overcomplicate, but also don't take too lightly. So rounding off to the nearest 10, so obviously the 7 is in your tens column, you look at the digit after it. And with a 6, we round up 1,480. So 1 minus 3/10 is 7/10. 10 take away 3, in other words, to find the numerator. Mode is most common. Thankfully, they've given us a massive hint by putting them in order. And so there are 4 3's. So 3 is the most common number. Write down a 3-digit number, multiple of 5. Obviously, there's loads to choose from. I'll go for the simplest. 0.4 as a percentage. So to go from a decimal to a percentage, it's multiply by 100. 40% finishes off the first page. Question 6, ranking some numbers. I always like to tick them off, cross them off, do whatever you want, but make sure you use them all. Most likely mistake is to skip one. So minus 11 looks the smallest to me. Then we've got the minus 7 and negative 2. And then 3, 8, 10. On to the next one. So the mathematical name of this polygon, well, if you have a quick count of the sides, it has 6 sides, making it a hexagon. You can slot the word irregular in front, but the mark scheme's not bothered. It just wants the basic hexagon. Which side is parallel to CD? So parallel, same direction. That's A to F or FA. Write down the sides perpendicular to AF. So you could have BA, or AB obviously, or EF, FE. Either of those for the mark. Number 8. So write down the coordinates of A. A is 3 to the right from the origin and 2 up. On the grid, mark with a cross, so negative 4, 3. So negative 4, 3. And on the grid, draw a circle. So get your compass out. It wants a radius of 4, so set your compasses to 4 centimeters. Mark your center here. And this is where my lack of technology skills, but the fact is, you should have a circle that goes up 4, down 4, right 4, and left 4. I suppose I've got to have a go at it freehand. But God, if mine's better than yours, you've got to really have another bash. Number 9. How many houses were sold by the estate agent in February? So you go across to February, you have a look, feel free to scroll across, you don't have to. But you'll notice it's halfway between the 22 and the 24, so it needs to be 23. For this estate agent, write down the ratio, number of houses sold in January, that's a 10. To the numbers sold in June, follow it across, that's a 56. No need to cancel it down, doesn't ask you to, why bother? Number 10, first taste of a wordy question. So, books a holiday for 1,428 and pays a deposit. So we subtract the deposit from the cost of the holiday. Means there's £1,278 left to pay. That needs dividing by 6, so each payment needs to be of £213. On to some angles. I'll not waste your time by writing out the reasons. I'll simply describe them as I go along. So your first job, angles in a triangle. add up to 180. So do 180, take away the 116 and the 25. You'll work out that to be 39. And then x is opposite to 39. So x is 39 because opposite angles are equal. On to some number machines. So for number 12, input is 28. So feel free, use your calculator, but divide it by 7, you get 4. Add on the 5, you get 9. When the input is 8, the output is 154. So we need to work backwards to here. So 154 divided by 11 means we get 14 coming out of the first input box. So the first input box changes 8 to 14 by adding on a value of 6. Two-way table, number 13. So as always, one thing at a time, one line at a time. She sold 198 beds. 59 were beds sold without a mattress. In goes the 59. But before you read on, always ask yourself, are there any others I can fill in? And the answer is yes, 198. Take away 59 gives you 139. 45 sold were double beds. Nothing else to fill in. Yet 17 of the single beds were sold without a mattress. Again, there's 2 blanks in the row and column. Not a lot we can do there. 67 of the 83 were king-size beds were sold with a mattress. So we do a takeaway. We get the 16. We do 198 minus 83 minus 45 to get 70. We do 70, take away 17 to get 53. We do 139 minus these 2 to get 19. And we do 59 minus these 2 to get 26. And I checked that my final column adds up to 45, which indeed it does. Number 14, some inequalities. So you could convert them, but 5/8 is over a half, 2/8 is under a half. So 5/8 is definitely greater than. Could use your calculator for this one, but you'll realise that both are positive 6. So that needs the equal sign to go in there. Number 15. We've got some information. Work out the total number. So that means 0 occurred 3 times. So these are all multiply. So 0, 57, 168, 225, and 324. It asks for the total, so there's no need to divide. We're not finding the mean here. Total is 774. Find the median. Now, if there's 300 students, we're needing the 150th, 151st students halfway between those two. So let's do a quick cumulative frequency. So let's add up as we go along. We've got a 3. We add on the 57. We've got a 60. We add on the 84. We've got a 144. So no sign of the 150th student or so on, because they'll be in the next group if we added on 75. So it's the 3, which is the median number of social media accounts. Number 6 on a scale drawing. So we've got to work out, we've got to work out what's going on, because the link is there. 12.4 to 64. Find your scale by doing a divide. your multiplier, your scale, is 5. So you need to take the 9.4, multiply that by 5 to give you the right answer of 47. For number 17, as you can tell, due to my woeful technology skills, I've cheated. But let's just explain where I've got the line from. So, if you're the sort of person who prefers the mx plus c method, you might prefer to rewrite it so it crosses at 4 with a -1 gradient. So every 1 unit across, you go down 1 unit. Or if you prefer the table of values technique, make up the easiest values for x and substitute them in. Y equals 4 take away x, so 4 take away 0, 4 take away 1, and 4 take away 2. And obviously those coordinates will be 0, 4, 1, 3, and 2, 2, which show up on the line. Either way is good, but do use a ruler. Number 18. Doctor's waiting room, 115 missed appointments. Alright, just to be careful, as you can see, hours, minutes, don't get caught out. So, there were 25.3 hours. If we times it by 60, that tells us the number of minutes. The number of minutes divided by the number of appointments tells us the average, the mean. You could have done that in another order, but that's the way I've chose. Either way is good. Very wordy for number 19. So, 3 kilograms. First thing to note, alright, it's got kilograms and grams, so I'm going to just start straight away and go for grams. So, she has 3,000 grams into 150 gram bags, so she'll be able to make 20 bags. Now, if you want to make a profit of at least 35%, it means you'll need your original investment to increase by at least a multiplier of 1.35, or in other words, £23.76. So for that to be the minimum she wants in total, then the minimum for each bag would be 1.188. Now it just happens to round up. Obviously, if you wanted the minimum, you'd round this up anyway. But she'd need to sell the bags for £1.19 to make sure she gets a profit of at least 35%. Good old probability trees, nice and simple. Don't overcomplicate, like I've always said. Use your calc if you need to, so you don't make any daft mistakes. Take that away from 1. Take that away from 1. Take that away from 1. No risks. Next one, Lorena goes out to work. Probability that both arrive late. So that's the late branch and the late branch. Don't forget, it's always multiply. So we're needing 0.13 times 0.06. On your calcs, again, easy to make a mistake here. It's 2 zeros, 7, 8. On to the next. So we've got some algebra. So first one, we've got a power to a power. So you should have been thinking 3 times 5 to give you x to the power of 15. And then it's not quadratics. There's 2 brackets, but they're separated by a plus. So it's simply 4 times x, 4 times 3, treat it as two separate questions. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times negative 2x is negative 14x. I always prefer to put the x's first, so 4x minus 14x, negative 10x. Reddit of 12, reddit of 28, reddit of 40. Factorise fully. Don't get mistaken by the fact there's a squared there. Don't automatically assume it's double brackets, because it's not. It's a single bracket. I always do numbers first. 15, 3, they're both in the 3 times table. 3 5s are 15. 3 1s are 3. Now, if you're confident, just go straight for it, but if you're not, I write it out in full. So x cubed, x times x times x, x squared, x times x, and a y. Whatever's in common comes outside, because they're factors. Whatever's left over, there's an x left over, there's a y left over. Leftovers are what goes in the brackets. Describe fully. So the shape is the same size, same way up, all that. So you need the exact word translation. Then you need to do some counting. Now we're going from S to T. So we're going pick a coordinate, pick a vertex, go to the corresponding vertex, count and count. I count 5 to the left, so that's a negative 5. I count 6 up, that's a positive 6. Next one, errors, bounds, whatever the heck you want to call them. The technique is whatever it has been rounded off to, you need to go up and down by half of that amount. So half a metre. So add 0.5 on, take 0.5 off, and you're done. People don't like them, but don't overcomplicate them. They're not as bad as you might think. Obviously, massively wordy for number 24. But like all things, one step at a time. As soon as it says Festival A, Festival B, let's just do A first. A has an area, 80,000. Greatest number of people allowed is 425. That's 188.2 and so on people. Let's look at Festival B. It's not telling us the area. We have to work it out. But we've got a calculator, so we'll times it. We could write out the answer, but let's not bother, because whatever we get, we need to divide it by 6,750 to get the answer 207.4, etc. It says how much greater. So do the bigger of the two answers, take away the smaller of the two answers. 19 for the nearest whole number. So not really connected, part B. Callum says 300 is 300 centimetres squared. Well, Callum, think about a 1 metre by 1 metre. It's 1 metre squared. The same square would be 100 by 100. So in other words, 100 times 100 means the multiplier is 10,000. All right, so sorry, Callum, nowhere near. On to the next one. Not a nice one, number 25, but bear with me on this one. So Notice they've not put any dotted lines, so they are kind of encouraging you to draw a bit of a diagram. Does not have to be accurate. L is left 3 up 1. M is 4 along 9 up. So the distance horizontally is 7. The distance vertically is 8. Now let's carry on. Given that that's M, sorry. Given that L to M to M to N. So in other words, that distance there carries on. N is somewhere up here. But here's the key. If that's 2 whatevers, because it's not a distance of 2, then that's 3. Or in other words, the multiplier is 1.5. So we work this distance out by multiplying the 7 by 1.5 and the 8 by 1.5, and we add 10.5 on to the x coordinate of M, and we add 12 on to the y coordinate of M. Not a nice question. Hope I've done my best there to explain it. Keep with it. There's marks available even if you don't get all 4. Draw a diagram, do some counting, see what you can do. You might get 2 or 3 marks, all right, for not as much as the right answer. Number 26. It's pretty standard calculator fare. If you're decreasing at a rate of 4%, take 4 pence away from a pound to be your multiplier and raise it to the power of the number of, in this case, years. We're getting 600.735 and so on. It's a money question, so nearest pence, 600.74. On to number 27. Whoops. So, another wordy, but certainly more friendly than the previous coordinates question. So, as with all wordies, one thing at a time. But slightly different, I like to link ideas on these. So, in Spain, Sam pays 27 euros for 18 litres. So in one step, let's change the euros to pounds by multiplying by 0.85. Let's change the litres into gallons by dividing by 4.5. So you're doing 2 things for the price of 1. You're now saying that in Spain, not only is it 27 euros for 18 litres, that's the same as £22.95 for 4 gallons. Now in Wales, Leo pays £40.80 for 8 gallons. Well, we're very close to having a comparison. If we halve both sides, we can see that in Spain it's £22.95 for 4 gallons. In Wales it's £20.40 for 4 gallons. Sam thinks it's cheaper in Spain. Nope. You could stop there. It was like a full sentence. If you want to go even further and say by how much or whatever, feel free. I'll not bother. And finally, simultaneous equations. Now you could turn the x's into 30x, but why do something that requires 2 steps when you can simply sort it out in one? I'm going to take the top equation, equation 1, and double everything. And I'm going to leave the second equation alone because now we've got the same number of y's. They're both positives, same sign, subtract. 4x equals 26. On your calculator, 26 divided by 4, we get 6.5. Pick one of the original equations. I'm going to pick equation 2 because there are an even number of x's, so it will get rid of the 0.5. So 6 times 6.5 is 39. And now we solve as a normal 2-step equation. Subtract 39 from both sides. It's a bit messy, but on your calculator, not the worst. Negative 2.75. And that finishes off that past paper. Hope it helps. See you on the next one.